Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. I am Allincrypto, and if you are new to this channel, do consider becoming a subscriber because we drop an update just like this one every single day at 1 p.m. UK time. It looks like yesterday was indeed the day that a Bitcoin spot ETF was approved and actually listed on some of the clearing houses, and today is the official day when many of these ETFs are set to start trading. And we're going to be taking a look at BlackRock's iShares ETF that is already in the pre-market session up 24%. We're then going to be moving over to altcoins. There is now a race for an Ethereum spot ETF, and actually we're going to see the progression of more altcoin ETFs as we move forward. Now this is very interesting because actually technically what we're looking at aligns with altcoins now starting to outperform Bitcoin, and I think that there's a fundamental narrative to this. You're going to see the same pressure that we saw build up for Bitcoin for the announcement of a spot ETF now take place for altcoins and them start to run as a result of this. That's the fundamental narrative. We'll look at technically how this has been signaled to us with the likes of others, dominance, and of course Bitcoin and where it's currently at. Bitcoin right now is resting perfectly at resistance, ultimately potentially setting us up for a move to 145,000. We're going to be showing you that again in this video. So as always, we have a hell of a lot to get into. Let's start things off, and I want to start things off with an announcement from us over at allincrypto.com. Today, we have officially announced our Allincrypto portfolio tracker, where you guys totally free, totally transparently, securely can actually track your portfolios by correlating all your data into one easy to use tracker that is secured. So guys, do go and check that out. Do go and give our portfolio tracker a go and let me know your feedback. This is a huge announcement and something we've been working on for a long time. There was a video that I published early today which sort of talks you through how to actually use it. Let's start things off with, of course, the ETF approval. Just in, CBOE approves the following spot Bitcoin ETFs for listing on its exchange pending the SEC's approval. So you've got VanEck, Fidelity, Franklin Temple, of course, ARK Invest, Investco, Galaxy, and then of course you've got BlackRock and all the others that were officially approved after this. So it was official yesterday. The rumors that we were looking at were true, and of course these rumors came from the likes of BlackRock. It was reported on CNBC. These guys typically are in the know, and they'll ultimately come out and say things publicly when they kind of know that it was likely to be approved and actually take place. This, of course, is iShares Bitcoin Trust. IBIT is the ticker. This is BlackRock's trust. And essentially, these guys are already 23% up pre-market. Now, lots of people were very nervous and very worried about the ETF actually causing a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And I think potentially there's a little bit of that. However, if you understand what a Bitcoin spot ETF unlocks, it unlocks access to the most amount of wealth out there in the world. If you look at across funds managers and investment companies, this is a really interesting stat. 70% of wealth is held by people 60 years and over. Okay? That is a statistic that is significant to the implementation of a Bitcoin spot ETF. Most people buy through their 401ks and things like this. They're now going to be able to do and buy Bitcoin via these vehicles. So it's a huge unlock of capital that's ultimately going to set in motion and be a real narrative for the bull market that we've been looking at since the start of January for Bitcoin. And it's all playing out, and this has all been technically signaled. All of this stuff is really noise compared to the technicals, which is how we trade and invest in the markets. And you want to find out about that sort of stuff, do consider becoming a patron or become a free subscriber, and we'll keep you up to date with it on a daily basis on this channel. The race, in my opinion, is now on for an Ethereum spot ETF. These are some of the participants. You can see we've got the usual suspects, including BlackRock, all now applying and looking to facilitate a Bitcoin spot ETF that looks likely for August. So very interesting. And I think the interesting thing with all this is I had a meeting with my patrons yesterday, and we'll talk about Bitcoin in just a second, and we were looking at others' dominance. Now, the interesting thing is, this is a chart we've been tracking and getting very right. You had a micro head and shoulders here that gave us a target that would perfectly align with the a broader head and shoulders target that was set up, and we're now playing out there. You got a breakout on volume, perfect retest. We were looking down here just before the news was announced and saying this is likely to turn, and actually altcoins are going to do well, even though we are expecting this resistance level here to act as exactly that for Bitcoin. Now, this might be very short-lived, but this ultimately is going to set us up for a broader head and shoulders pattern, like the one that we were looking down, like the one we were looking at down here that predicts us 42k, taking us to around about the 150k zone. And that fits in with our overall market thesis on the macro, micro, and everything in between, fundamentally and technically signaled, that has given us the ability and insight to accumulate through the year of 2023 and ultimately be well positioned for what's to come. And, you know, it's not too late is the news. You know, things are just getting started. Altcoins are just starting to break out. And I think the fundamental narrative, the reason we're showing you this is because the fundamental narrative may now shift a little bit from Bitcoin in regards to that pressure cooker that was boiling up in regards to the Bitcoin spot ETF, and now shift to the likes of altcoins. Before we dive into the charts in a little bit more detail, I actually just want to talk a little bit about XRP and other altcoins and the kind of journey that they're on. We see now in the EU, 21 Shares has enabled a ADA, Cardano, exchange traded product. We are moving towards a world where you will end up with altcoin ETFs, and this is going to be a huge driver and narrative for the upward continuation of this market that we've been technically looking at. The fundamental sort of narrative is there also. Some really interesting things happening with XRP right now. So XRP recently bought back, I think it was $260 million worth of their own shares. You can see that Fidelity unveils an XRP ETP, which is an exchange traded product. And you're also seeing, I believe it was Grayscale, adding XRP to their digital large cap fund. So something interesting is going on with XRP. And XRP is a exceptionally interesting chart that is ultimately predicting a similar move to what you saw in 2017. It is truly interesting, you know, understand and follow the technical analysis, and everything else will make sense. And what am I referring to in regards to XRP? Well, I'm essentially referring to history repeating. So XRP is forming a very similar pattern to what it did here that led to this kind of an upside. I don't think it's going to be to the same degree. It's doing that again today and is ultimately on the cusp, in our opinion, of breaking out and rocking and rolling. And perhaps the Ripple going public, the kind of, I guess, acceptance of this space could be the real propelling factor there. So something's going on with XRP. It's very interesting now that the narrative is now perhaps going to shift to altcoins, which has been technically signaled by our others dominance. Others is anything outside the top 10 in terms of percentage of the overall market. It's currently around about 10, 11%. We're looking for a move to around about 20%, which is signaling an alt season and a good time for altcoins. And actually, when you look at the individual altcoins outside the top 10, they all basically look like Injective before it went on the massive run that it did. You know, let's use Hedera as a good example. We had set out and given a price prediction for Hedera in regards to the kind of roadmap or the path ahead that we thought it was going to take, which is very similar to Bitcoin, what it's done. And actually a great schematic for all of these is the Japanese Nikkei on a monthly chart. You know, this is how markets move, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll try and teach you and keep you guys up to date on that. All of the altcoins, or most of the altcoins, are on the cusp of going on a major run, and they're at that breakout stage. So there's an amazing opportunity, I believe, right now in the crypto space, and ultimately everything is going in the right direction. You know, if you guys have been watching us over the past year, over the past 3 or 4 years, you know, we've not got everything right. We were slightly late getting out, going into the bear market, but pivoted very early and ultimately weathered a lot of that storm, only to accumulate Bitcoin literally at the 16, 15K range back in January 2023. So things are playing out. The plan is in play, set in motion, and ultimately it's a case of sticking with it, keeping on until there's reason to suggest otherwise. But this is huge. I'm kind of over the moon that I can shut up a little bit about the BlackRock and Bitcoin spot ETF. You know, let's just see what the kind of inflows into it are going to be. Remember, Standard Charter predicted around about $50 to $100 billion worth of inflows into Bitcoin in the year of 2024, which theoretically would move the price anywhere from 500 to 1,000%, which is huge. If I think it was $93 moves the price by $93 million moves the price by 1%. 10% would be around about $1 billion. Do the maths on the 50 to $100 billion inflows that Standard Charter are predicting. So happy days. It is great news. It's great news that we've announced the portfolio tracker today as well. Ultimately, it's just a case on keeping on, and we'll let you know if there's any changes. And over the coming weeks and months, we're going to be bringing you lots of altcoins that you guys should be paying attention to make the most out of this crypto bull run. So that is really all I've got for you guys. If you've enjoyed this content, as always, a like is appreciated, so is a comment, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.